everybody. My name is Lucas Hammond, and I am founder and CEO of Orange Pegs. I'm also probably the biggest HubSpot advocate you will ever meet. My growth agency, Orange Pegs, is a platinum solutions provider. We've been doing this now for about 9 years, been working with HubSpot as a partner for about 8 of those 9 years. And in addition to helping small businesses grow, we have helped hundreds of you take advantage of this powerful tool. So today I'm actually going to show you a really cool way to utilize the CMS's smart tools and personalization tokens. It's way off the beaten path when it comes to utilizing this tool set, but extremely cool and very, very usable across many industries. In fact, we've brought this to B2B, we brought it to B2C. We created an e-commerce use case for this. And of course, we use it on our own website. This is where the idea originated and where it really initially matured. So let me go ahead and shrink my window down here so I can show you what I am talking about. So basically, if you go to our homepage, orangepegs.com, and you scroll down to where you see this car zooming through a tunnel, you see, take our growth quiz to see where your business stands. What this is a 5-page set of forms where we're asking questions about the business, the investments that people have made in growth, sales, and marketing. Now, obviously, if you're not in the growth world or growth industry like ours, you got to think about how to apply this in your own business setting. Like I said, we've done it with e-commerce. E-commerce, people are trying to buy things that they don't necessarily get to touch beforehand. So this is a really cool way to make sure things fit the way they're supposed to fit. But when it comes to, let's say, B2B, which is what we are, it's a really good way to analyze the different things that we help businesses solve. So let me just go ahead and start getting right through it. Now, I'm going to show you real quickly. You'll see here that this is a smart form. So we use progressive profiling on this, and I'll just have a quick peek here just so you can see what I mean by that. It's a pretty basic feature when it comes to the HubSpot Pro marketing tool set. But basically on the form itself, let me go ahead and move my face across the room. You can, let me get into the forms editor version of it. We've got these progressive fields. And so we have one progressive field in here, which is the website URL. It's not required at the end of this process. So that's why I put it in a progressive field, but everything else is required. So basically, you can see from this that the person who's on here, which is me, has already filled out all of these answers to all these questions. So that is the reason why it's a lot shorter here than there. Now, let me go ahead and click on next, and I'll show you what happens. So basically, we continue down this path of different forms, asking different questions. This one is about the situation today. The first one was about, well, who are you? Just in case they stop the process, we still got them in our database. They're still a lead. In this particular scenario, it's, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. Where each one of these forms is going to ask more and more personal information about the business. And so you got to kind of gain a little bit of trust. If you put everything on just one page, it's first of all going to be this massive form that's going to take forever. And most people are going to look at it and say, heck no. But at the same time, you haven't really established anything yet. But each time they click next, it helps establish some sense of confidence because their computer didn't blow up or they didn't get violated by some sort of computer virus. So in this particular one, what is the situation today? You'll notice that I after the first page where I'm asking about company name and the individual names, I will no longer ask questions that have like single lines of text or multiple lines of text. It's all drop downs and multiple checkboxes. And for your first one, I would recommend only using drop downs because it really limits the different combinations of answers that you're dealing with at the end. And that's a really important thing. Something also important to remember is when we get to the final page here, you're going to notice that there are responses to the way that you responded. So for people saying, this is my challenge today, there's going to be a way that we respond to the way that they responded. And so there's always a single line. So if you have to have 3 questions, answer one outcome, that's going to be really difficult on the programming side when it comes to that thank you page. So I know that may not make sense now. Let me just go ahead and get through this and hopefully that will start to materialize. But in this particular case, what's the situation today? Go ahead and get onto the sales questions now. And I'm actually on this one, I'm going to keep the sales questions open. So I'm going to use the form redirect page icon up here, but everybody else would, of course, go through and just click next. But by doing that, you see it leaves this one open for me to come back to and reference later. So now when it comes to how are you investing in marketing? Well, thought leadership. I mean, there's any number of ways you can respond to that. And then, okay, let's get to growth. The growth questions are more specific about strategy. Okay, fine. Now let's get to the results. And you'll notice here in the results page that there's this, there's a buffer between them. And I've got this 5-second gerbil on a hamster whale. It's trying to be a little cute. But the idea is that we got to give HubSpot enough time to disseminate the information that we just added to the last form. It usually takes a few seconds for them to populate the system. And that's really, really important because of two things. One, we're feeding back personalization tokens based on those responses. And number two, we're feeding back smart content based on those responses. So you really, really need to give it that 5-second buffer window. And I say 5 seconds, it could be a little bit less, but I like to just be doubly safe and just give it that full 5 seconds. So now if we get to the results here, you can see that we have some information that is fed back to folks just based on those smart fields. And then down here, we actually have a grading system. So based on individual answers that were given on those other pages, we have individual responses. And you can see here, so for sales, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different responses. So there were 5 specific questions related to sales. And in those questions, there were multiple answers. Some answers were good, some answers were bad, and some answers were somewhere in between. Now, the in-betweeners, you can see this yellow checkbox. The good answers, you see this green checkbox. And for the bad answers, you see red X in that checkbox. And so because of the cumulative effect, since this is not all A pluses, then this is a non-passing grade right here. But what could happen, and by the way, I could put a grade here if I prefer, right? If I rather kind of tally things up based on the number of green checkboxes, but we're getting really complicated by doing things like that. So this is a more simple version on how to do it. So you can see we've got the sales responses here. We've got the marketing responses here, some good, some bad, some in between. And then we have the growth and strategy responses here. And so those are the 3 pages that are feeding back 3 very important things, right? We've got the sales, marketing, and strategy. Now, tech is also in there, but tech is actually captured in the sales side of things. Now, if you keep going to the very bottom, you'll see that there is one more field that is using smart content, and that is this guy. It's technically not smart content, but basically we embed, I think in this one, we used a round robin form, and it shows the contact owner first. And if there is no contact owner, then it gets assigned to a default. Now, the way we have it set up, we have every contact get round robin assigned. So by the time we get to this page, there is an owner attached to them. If there wasn't prior, then they get assigned to them. And it's going to show that salesperson's calendar, not mine. So there's so many things that happen here. So let me go through and show you the underside. How did we build this? Okay, so you can see here, I'm on the page right now, and you can see here we have under your business, these are all personalization tokens, company name, industry select, how big is your company, etc. These are all things that we filled out in the very first page and the second page. And then we get into the answers. So now we're starting to get into using the smart content. So let me go ahead and click on it so you can see what that looks like. So right here, the default is this little red X. But if I click on GPB sales all good, that's going to give me a green check mark. Right? So I can edit that there. And basically the way that I'm doing this is with a contact list membership. So what I've done is based on one particular answer, this particular thing is good, this particular thing is bad. And then this particular list is accumulation of all of those answers. So if they are on these good lists here and all of these good lists, then they'll also be added to the GPB sales all good list. And that's what gives us the overarching goal. But when we get into the individual ones, these are based on individual responses, not the cumulative effect. So you can see we've got a good and a bad on this one. Now, if I go over here, you'll see that we have a good, a medium, and a bad. And if I keep going, you'll see good, medium, bad. And you'll also see a correlation in these boxes right next to it. So this one should only have a good and a bad. This one should have a good, medium, and a bad. And this one should also have a good, medium, and a bad. And so basically what happens is if the person answered a question in a good way, with the good response, it's going to show them the good response here when they get to the exit page or the thank you page. So it's pretty straightforward like that. And we do that all the way through here. Now, let me actually see real quick how we ended up doing this particular guy. So we did it the same way. We did smart. We didn't use the round robin function. So if you look at Jesse Marks leads or Jennifer leads or Lucas leads, it's going to show my calendar or their calendars depending on who owns that contact inside of HubSpot. So that, my friends, is how you do it. I mentioned the hamster wheel. So I'm going to go back to the hamster wheel. Let me go ahead and click forward on this one and see if I can grab the hamster before I hit edit page. Okay. So this is an important one, as I mentioned before, because you've got to give yourself a little buffer time. So all I did was I took this, this little snippet right here, this little script, and I put it into the head of that page. And so I'll go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this bad boy and leave it in the comments below. But this is a great way just to make, like I said, that buffer page in between. So it's really important that the page before it points to the loading page, and then the loading page forwards to the results page. And one other thing I want to show you that I think is really, really interesting is this results page can be used by sales to get a quick glance at what that person is seeing on that final page. Now, they also, of course, inside of HubSpot have access to the answers to those questions, but there's something pretty valuable about this, especially if the person doesn't finish the assessment. What I'll do is I'll actually come in here and I'll click preview and I'll look under their name. And so you can see I'm looking through the eyes of Lucas Hammond now. And now instead of seeing just the defaults in there, I'll actually see the results of their outcomes. So it's really cool if somebody gets all the way to the sales one, but they don't finish marketing after that. I'll actually do a screen recording just like this using Vidyard, which is also inside of HubSpot. And I'll actually go through and I'll show them their results. I'll send this video off. And oftentimes it gets them to either come back and finish it or refer me to the individual in the company who can answer the next page's worth of questions. So that is it, my friends. Hopefully this was helpful and useful in your journey with HubSpot. Please let me know what you think, comments, whatever you got. I'm here to help.